Hi, my name is Vansel Lucas, and this is my second year teaching. I'm teaching sixth grade science at Visual and Performing Arts. Um, I'll tell you, it's really been a journey teaching. I found out some things that I really love, found out some things that I really don't like as much, but it's definitely been a journey. I'm currently still getting my master's. I'm still in college right now, getting my master's in teaching. Um, I plan on pursuing that and keeping it as a long term goal. Um, um, well, going forward, um, the topic for today is the classroom environment. Um, I could sit here and talk about this for a little while. Reflecting back on my first year as a teacher, being a non traditional teacher, it was definitely a challenge. I had no experience whatsoever going into the classroom. Um, I was basically just thrown in a classroom. They gave me a job, they took a chance on me. So it was an experience, especially not knowing anything, not knowing how lesson plans work, not knowing how to actually be fully prepared, um, not having routines for the kids. Um, it definitely was a learning experience for my first year. Um, you really have to have routines for everything. It can be something as little as going to sharpen the pencil, getting tissue. Sixth graders need, not just sixth graders, but all kids, but mostly, you know, kids that are in elementary, they need procedures. They need procedures for everything. And it's very important going into a classroom or any classroom or school or any job. If you're dealing with kids, you need to have routines, procedures, expectations, and rules for your classroom and how you want it to be ran. Well, the question for domain 2, the first one, it says how your classroom supports learning. Um, I would say my classroom this year, like I said, feeding off of my first year, well, reflecting back off of my first year, um, my classroom definitely supports learning this year, especially because I can emphasize and say that I made sure that it was supporting learning this year. Last year, which was my first year, I spent most of the time correcting behavior because I had no procedures in place. I was doing a lot of smiling, and there's nothing wrong with smiling, but when you're dealing with sixth graders or, especially sixth graders, you have to be firm with them and you can't be their friends. You have to let them know that you mean business and that you have high expectations for them. You want them to succeed in the sixth grade. This is their last year in elementary. So you want them to do their best and be the best that they can be. And then most importantly, you want them to remember their last year in elementary. But back to supporting, you know, my learning environment, supporting learning in my classroom. I would say my classroom does support learning. Um, I educate a lot of, students, IEPs, 504s, um, and it's been a roller coaster. Um, the students, they know, especially this year, that Mr. Lucas have high expectations for them. Um, there's nothing that they can't ask me for. Um, Everyone will be treated the same. There's no little I's and big U's. Um, you know, um, the kids know that Mr. Lucas will go above and beyond for them. I will explain things over and over if I have to until they get it. And sometimes I may have to actually put it as an audio because sometimes kids need to, they need to hear it 3 or 4 times or, you know, before they get it. And that's just like humans too. Well, not just humans, adults as well. You need to see things and read over things and hear it 3 or 4 times before you get it. Because no one's is perfect. No one knows, just going through something or going over something. You won't just get it always the first time. Especially if it's something difficult, difficult to remember. Or you're learning something new. So going over it 3 or 4 times, sitting back, taking your time with them, giving them the best information or the best resources that they need to succeed in your classroom or just in life general. So I would say support in my classroom is definitely a big thing. You can also, kids know they also can ask me, a question after class or something, or before class starts. I have in my classroom, I have this little feedback tray. I got 4 boxes. And the first one, whenever I teach a scope or whenever I teach a topic, I say scope, but it's topic. That's what we call it at our school. Because I teach science and they call them scopes, but it's basically topic. But the kids know whenever I'm teaching, and I'm teaching a scope and they're not understanding, they could write on a sticky note or index card and tell me, Mr. Lucas, I'm having trouble with this. Mr. Lucas, I need help with this, okay? So I have a scale of 1 to 4. 1 being, I'm not understanding at all. 2's being, I'm starting, I got some of it, okay? And then 3 is I got it. And 4 is, Mr. Lucas, I'm good. I don't need any help. I understand. And I have a lot of students that's around that 2 mark, I got some that are 3. This year so far, I would say that a lot of my students are 4s. Simply because I know better now from my first year. I know how to present things to them. I know how to meet them where they are. It's not always about telling them something and expecting them to get it. That's not how it works. You gotta elaborate a little bit more for them. You gotta break it down so they can get a better understanding of whatever topic you're teaching, because they have a lot of things that are on their minds and they need you to tell them or break it down. They need a plan or a list for you to tell them how this works and how that works and why does this work. They need a list, okay? It's not just this is this and you need to get it because we got a test Friday. That's not how it works. You have to actually have independent time, independent work. You got to have classroom discussions. You got to have group discussions, and you got to have one-on-one time with that child. Okay, and send homework. Not everyone likes homework, but send homework. Parents are looking, for a teacher that's gonna send homework, that's gonna be engaged, that's want the best for their child. So give them homework. Okay. They gotta be prepared for the test Friday. Okay, doesn't matter if they don't want homework or not. No one likes homework. But if we, as teachers, if we know that our students are struggling and they need the extra practice, give it to them. Okay. So respect in my classroom. So it's funny because this is my 2nd year, like I said, and I wouldn't say that my first year was just terrible and the kids didn't respect me, but you could tell that they thought, because since I'm young, they wanted to treat me as I was like their bigger brother, if you could, relate to what I'm saying. Um, it was my first year, and I had a tough group. I'm not gonna lie, I did have a tough group, but I loved them. I loved them, and the respect. They just thought that I was their bigger brother. If you follow me and seeing where I'm going with that, but the respect when I once I stood up and they really, you know, felt that I was making my presence, or you know if I was demanding something. I wouldn't really say demanding, but if I was being serious, they knew that it was time to, straighten up, because Mr. Lucas is not playing right now. We got work that we need to be doing. We got things that we have to do. Um, I would definitely say, but learning from my first year until now, which is my second year, you got to hit them from the beginning. From open house, you got to let them know this is my expectations. To let the parents know. Don't be scared. You got to let them know. Especially with me, because I'm a male. They already think, there's not that many male teachers. Not in elementary. I know for sure. There's not that many teachers, male teachers in this profession. And that was one advantage that I could, use. Excuse me. And, that was one advantage that I had, because the kids wanted to know this. I'm probably some of them first male teacher ever, and I wanted to leave a good impression on them. And I also want them to be able to take something from my class and be like, Mr. Luke is one of the best for me. He's my first ever male teacher, and he pushed me. But I would definitely say, starting from open house, starting from day one, you have to let them kids know that these are my expectations, these are my procedures, these are my rules. If you're not going to abide by them, then there's going to be consequences. And I got parents that I need to contact, okay? Because if you don't have rules, if you don't have expectations, you're in for a rude awakening. If you don't have procedures, you're in for a rude awakening. Okay, I definitely learned from my first year. And I'm not just saying my first year was bad, but I would say probably by Thanksgiving, I got a grip on how I should be, how my classroom should be ran. Okay, I would say by Thanksgiving, I had a pretty good idea, and I had a great mentor, and she was the best mentor ever. I would never, I wouldn't trade my mentor for nothing. She taught me everything that I know now, and I definitely know better. All right. Well, okay. Well, behavior management. Okay, behavior management. Okay, this again go back to those expectations, rules and procedures. You have to hit them from day one. Let them know your behavior, your consequences that they're gonna get, the behavior plans that you got set forth. You can't, you still, it's your classroom and you run it how you want, but you still have to follow whatever admin has for you. It was set in stone for the whole school. Okay. But definitely behavior management. In my class, I know for sure I give out a warning. My warning is when you walk through the door. Okay, and all my students know this, because when you walk through my doors, it's work. Okay, we got stuff that we have to do. We don't have time to be playing. We don't have time. We don't have any downtime to be playing or to not be listening to instruction on what's going on. Okay, so behavior is something that I handle at the beginning, like from day one. I said, these are my expectations. These are what you're going to do. So my behavior plan that I set for them. The first time to be a warning. Um, the first time to be a warning. The second time, it's gonna be a parent contact. Okay, and then the third time, it's a minor with a parent contact. And then I have, if you get 3 minors in a week, it'll be a major with a parent contact as well. And from there on, it'll be a whatever your consequence or whatever your actions are, it'll be a major or minor depending on what it is. And I'll have to contact the parent as well. So the kids know that, and I have this behavior plan listed and hanging up in my classroom, so the kids know that it's visible and that they see it, so they know what they need to follow. And I believe having that visual, the kids know that you mean business and they know that you're prepared for your classroom. Um, they won't try to take advantage of this and that. Well, they're kids, they're sixth graders, so they'll try to take advantage of some things, but they know if you got things set in stone in your classroom for them, and they know this is what they need to follow. And also, when you tell their parents, you let the parents know, this is how I run my classroom, this is how it's gonna be. Okay, once you do that, the kids have no excuse. Okay, the parents know, they know, everyone knows. Okay, so once you have all that covered, you're fine. Okay, you just have to go through. Now all you got to do is just apply these rules that you have set in stone. Routines. Okay, again, from my first year, I learned that you have to have a routine. Every day there has to be a routine. Kids got to know what they're going to do once they get off the bus, or once they get out of their car. They got to know what they're going to do when they get to your room, when they walk to your room, whether they're sitting down beside the classroom eating breakfast, if they're standing up, if they're going to the cafeteria, whatever they're doing, they have to have a routine. And when they get in the class, they have to have a routine. So my routine, I will explain this to you. So my routine, the kids know once they get home, once they get to school, not home, once they get to school, they are to grab their breakfast as soon as they come through the doors. Either that's the bus doors or the car rider door. Grab their breakfast, walk down the hall, sit beside my classroom until I get there, or if I'm not there. And when it's time to come in, okay, you can come in. Oh, they're also allowed, you can either eat your breakfast in the hallway, if it's not, as long as it's not something that's like milk or something like that, so they won't waste it in the hallway. But they're allowed to eat their pancakes or something, the little handheld pancakes, with a little square pancakes, if they have something like that. They can eat that in the hallway. That's allowed. But other than that, they're supposed to eat their breakfast in the classroom. So once they sit down, get their breakfast, they're waiting on me to tell them to come in the classroom. They come in. As soon as they come in, I have bell work that I have for them to do. It's science bell work. It'll be something like, they have daily activities that they do Monday through Friday. It has a checklist. Well, it's a packet. It has a checklist of Monday through Friday telling you what you need to be doing for your bell work. And it's science daily activities for Monday through Friday. So that's something that's quick. It may be a little passage reading about carnivores, herbivores, something like that. Getting vocabulary words, learning about maybe morphology or something like that. But it's something quick. And I've also started having just having little questions on their iPads, but they don't know it, but it's a question. I'm pulling questions from their test that they will have Friday. They don't know the questions. Well, they've been learning the topic, but they don't know the question that's going to be on the test. I'm just pulling the questions from the test and giving it to them. So once the test comes, they'll already know, but they don't know. Okay, they don't know, but they know. Okay, um, so yeah, so they come in, they eat their breakfast, get their packet from their on top of the iPad cart, get their bellwether on top of the iPad cart, get their iPad, and go sit down, eat their breakfast, and while they're eating their breakfast, they're doing their bell work. Once you finish your bell work from the pack, you finish your little day thing. You can get on your iPad and you can get on iReady. You can do some little math work. You could do something like that, or I allow them to read a book until classes get ready to start. Most of the time, I'll give them about 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes to finish their bell work. And some are faster than others. Okay, so I have to overplan and give them something extra to do. Okay, and it's always important to overplan. If you overplan, you won't have to. I use the term, I use the phrase, be ready so you don't have to get ready. So once you overplan, you have things in place to where for your fast learners, if they're too quick and they're finishing their work all the time, you got something else. Bam. You got something else. Bam. Maybe it's enrichment. Maybe it's an extracurricular activity or something like that. Okay. And then a physical layout. So the physical layout, I would say, you know, just have, your layout of what's going to be happening throughout your week. Let your parents know your lesson plans. Let the kids know, like on the first day of school, I actually talked about my All About Me. I went over procedures and expectations within my classroom, and then I hit on everything that we're going to be going over this year in class for science. So the topics are broken up into 3 domains. Okay, you have physical science, life science, and earth and space science. Okay, I went blank right there for a minute. Okay, so physical science, life science, and earth and space science, and they're all tested subjects. Tested domains, and they have a certain percentage of how much percent they're going to test them over on the test. So they've got that. We went over that, and we went over each scope that we're going to be talking about this year. I believe we have about, when I say scopes, I'm talking about topics. I just say scopes because that's what they want us to say. And the kids know this as well. But I believe there's about 20 to 25, I want to say, scopes that we have to cover throughout this whole year. And we're spending we're spending 2 weeks on each scope. So, and that's a list of, ton of materials. I got plenty of things I can do. I can do explores, I can do experiments, we have this thing called STEMcopedia or Lincoln Literacy. It's a reading passage where kids can learn about whatever topic we're talking about, because science is a lot of information, and you have to be able to read and contain information, okay? That's all science is, a lot of information, and you have to study. So a lot of kids tell me, Mr. Lucas, why do we have to learn about science? Science is everywhere. Science is all around you. I mean, it's just as important as, math or reading, I would say, okay? It's a tested subject, so I love science. If it came down to it, I would choose science every day. But back to my physical layout. So we went over those 3 domains that could be tested, and we talked about the 20 to 25-ish scopes that we have to go over and teach this year. And it is important to show them like your dates. I had the dates and everything that showed them and told them what day we're going to be working on this, how long we're going to be working on it. And then it also had the holidays broken down into this spreadsheet that I created. Um, so the kids would know what day they want to be at school, what day they got a holiday coming up, and all of that. And it also have the tests, the Atlas summative and the interims on there, and it also had the math diagnostics on there as well that the students have to take. So I broke everything down for them this year, and they know what days, the parents know what days, and it's important to always keep your parents involved because they are the ones that are, you know, trusting you with their kid. They're trusting you to do your best and teach their kid. I always thank my parents and tell them I really appreciate them for letting me have them in my classroom because you could get some parents that are a little feisty and some that may be a little hard on you, but it's all a part of the process. If you're organized, if you're planned, if you're handling your business and you're covering your butt, um, you have nothing to really worry about. That's all parents want to see. They want to make sure that you're planned, you're organized, you're updating them every week and telling them what their child is working on, what they're doing, how their behavior is in class. It's a lot, you know. It is a lot. But this profession is not for everyone. And so if you're not prepared, if you're not one of those persons that, you know, like to communicate back and forth with parents and let them know, then this profession is probably not for you. Um, but anyways, um, so yeah, it's important to let your parents know about, you know, lesson plans. I update my lesson plans every weekend, well, every week, but I work on them on the weekends so I can get them pushed out by Sunday night before kids come back to school. So the parents know what the kids will be working on this week. Um, yeah. So again, the respect, behavior, and behavior management in the classroom. Excuse me. Routines and your physical layout. It all plays a part in how you are gonna run your classroom. You have to be the alpha in your classroom. Your kids got to know that you are in control, that you know what you're doing, you're planned, um, and you're organized, okay? No kid want to come in there and just be, you know, just there. They're just at school just to be there because their parents sit them there. They want to have fun. And it's not always about just sitting up there listening to the teacher, okay? You got to be able to be flexible and let them talk, you know? It's not it's not always about you know, hitting them all the time with this, hitting them with that. And not always about correction, okay? You got to let them be free sometimes, but you do have to be firm with them, okay? And if you don't know the difference between, you know, being firm and being mean, then you need to figure it out because there's a difference. There's definitely a difference between being firm and being mean. Um, and I definitely, you know, I learned that my first year. Being mean and being firm are two different things. Okay, being firm, you want them. You know, being firm is, you know, telling them that you need them to get on board. Okay, telling them that you need them to get their act together because we have things we gotta do. Being mean is just being mean for no reason. Okay, but I hope we don't have any people like that. Um, but yeah, so the first day, hit them with it. Routines is very important. Classroom management, um, just being on top of your things. It is my second year. Hopefully, I'll be able to do this profession for many more years after this one, and I plan on doing it many more years after this one. Um, but yeah, man, I mean, it's a dream come true. I love working with kids, and I wouldn't trade for anything in the world. So hopefully you guys got something out of this. Hopefully, um, hopefully I did or said something that you guys would take and use in your classroom, or just, you know, show someone this video and let them learn from a second year teacher. You know, I just hope you guys have a good day. All right, Mr. Luke is out.